Today, we're going to be diving into stories about people who decided to deal with the dubious demon himself, selling their immortal soul for mere shekels. By dealing with the devil, you have to accept that there is an afterlife and you're going to be burning for eternity after you get your 15 minutes of fun. To start with, we're going to go back to one of the earliest examples of devil dealing, which is the German magician that was known as Johann Georg Faust, which many believe is the Faust of folklore. I'd accuse him of being in league with the devil just for that magnificent beard alone, but that's just me. The story begins with Faust, a depressed scholar who attempts to take his own life, and after failing, he calls upon the devil for magical powers and unseen knowledge. The devil sends Mephistopheles, who bargains with Faust, lending him his magical powers for a number of years in exchange for his eternal soul. Immediately he abuses his powers to play cheap practical jokes, which honestly, it's kinda lame to be honest. Give me magical powers and shit is getting tyrannical super quickly. Faust, however, uses powers to play lame trolls, like in one tale where he sells a horse trader an enchanted horse, which turns into a pile of clay after he rides it. Which, congrats dude, you really got that guy. Or this other time, he turned invisible and slapped the Pope. Okay, this one's kind of funny if I'm being honest, but it's still a bit stupid to use invisibility just to slap the Pope. After he slapped the Pope, the friars that were around the Pope began to pray, to which he then beat them up and then set off fireworks before leaving. All in all, he was just being an arsehole for most of the years that he had his powers. Faust then seduces a woman named Gretchen with the help of his magical powers, and, in most renditions of the story, she gives birth to his illegitimate child, who she ends up drowning. She is then sentenced to death for the murder, but because of her innocence, she still makes it to heaven. Which I can kind of understand, because she could probably get off saying that she was under duress or demonic possession or something. Faust, however, nearing towards the end of his contract, becomes more and more corrupted, and eventually, when the term ends, he is dragged to hell. There are some other versions where he is saved by some BS, but not on this channel. Here we believe in accountability and continuity. Our second deal with the devil will be the tale of Pope Sylvester II. It begins with him travelling to Spain in search of knowledge of mathematics, astrology and astronomy, and whilst there he was rumoured to have met up with a Saracen philosopher. This philosopher taught him the dark arts, however, he didn't tell him everything as he had a secret book with all his dark arts knowledge that he kept from Gerbert. Yeah, by the way, the Pope guy's name is Gerbert. So Gerbert devised a plan to get the Saracen drunk and let him sleep with his daughter in order to steal it while he was sleeping, which worked, but it seems a bit weird to pimp your daughter out just for a book of spells, but he apparently used it to send to the papacy, so I guess it was worth it. He then apparently made a bronze head that was possessed by a demon and would answer his questions with a yes or no, and it told him that if he ever read mass in Jerusalem, the devil would come for him. Which doesn't sound like a yes or no answer to me, but I might be wrong. He then cancelled his trips to Jerusalem, and when one time he read a mass at a church in Rome that was named the Holy Cross of Jerusalem, the devil apparently pulled out his eyes and gave them to demons to play with. I'm guessing the devil's a little mad at him because apparently in another version of his story, he played dice with the devil for the papacy and he won somehow. Shortly after the mass he became ill and was dying, to which he asked his cardinals to cut up his body and scatter it across the city. That's not all, as because of a mistranslation of his tomb, some people believe that you can hear his bones rattling just before the death of another pope. So just imagine being Pope Sylvester, in hell probably because of his deal with the devil, and every 70 or so years you just start randomly rattling because another pope is about to die in the real world. Moving on from Pope Sylvester, we have Guiseppe Tartini, who is our final man who made a deal with the devil, supposedly. He was an Italian composer and composed over 100 different pieces for the violin. However, his most famous body of work was the Tartini Violin Sonata in G minor, otherwise known as the Devil's Trill Sonata. Giuseppe has kind of a tragic story. After his father's death, he married for love, despite her social class being way below his, but unfortunately, a powerful cardinal also had his eye on his wife and charged him with abduction, to which he had to flee to a monastery to evade persecution. Whilst at the monastery, he heard Veracini, a prominent and skilled violinist, play, and, dissatisfied with his own skills, fled to central Italy, locking himself in a room until he improved, and it is here where he made his pact with the devil. One night, he dreamed that the devil was at the foot of his bed, and, after a deal was made, he handed the devil his violin and he played a piece so moving that it caused him to become breathless and wake, to which he immediately tried to recreate the same piece again. He's the definition of source. It came to me in a dream. Except this time I believe him. You can listen to covers of the Devil's Trill Sonata on YouTube, and even if you don't have an ear for classical music, you can hear how technical it is. Allegro moderato is my favourite part, and even listening to it you can hear the skill required to play, and that's why it's earned the moniker the Devil's Trill Sonata. He even stated that what he composed and what he heard are so worlds apart that he would have rather broken his violin and never played again than if he had to live without hearing it. Which might sound a bit extreme, but it was his career-defining piece, so I get it. If you like these types of videos, consider hitting the like button and maybe subscribing. Anyways, thanks for watching, hope to see you in the next one. Bye.